Stop scrolling. Because Dawn Staley just made the kind of statement that could completely change the way Philadelphia's WNBA story unfolds. And here's the part people are missing. Staley doesn't want to come back to Philadelphia simply to coach. She wants to own. That's not internet speculation. Staley has repeatedly said that if Philadelphia gets its WNBA franchise, she would rather have an ownership stake than sit on the sideline calling plays. Her reasoning? Ownership gives her a bigger platform to shape the culture, the business, and the future of women's basketball. Now pause right there. Philadelphia is no longer some imaginary expansion market. The WNBA has officially announced a future Philadelphia franchise, which means Staley's comments suddenly carry a completely different weight. But here's the twist. There is no confirmed deal putting Dawn Staley into the ownership group. So why is this suddenly getting people's attention? Because Staley isn't talking like someone begging for a coaching job. She's talking like someone who understands the value she brings beyond basketball. She has already built championship-level programs, transformed South Carolina into a powerhouse, and become one of the most recognizable figures in women's basketball. And now she's basically saying, if I'm coming home, I want a seat at the table. That changes the conversation. Imagine Philadelphia launching its WNBA era with Dawn Staley involved, not necessarily holding a clipboard, but helping build the identity of the franchise from the ground up. And remember, Staley herself has warned that timing matters. She doesn't want Philadelphia's team rushed into existence and left without the foundation to succeed. So this isn't just a celebrity saying, I want a team. This is a basketball architect saying, I know what this city needs, and I want a hand in building it. The real question now isn't whether Dawn Staley wants in. She's already told us. The question is, will Philadelphia's ownership group make room for her? Listen carefully, because the headline sounds bigger than the news, and that distinction makes Dawn Staley's WNBA story fascinating. Dawn Staley does want ownership in Philadelphia's future WNBA franchise. She has said it herself more than once, and she has been remarkably clear about what she does not want. She does not want to return to her hometown simply to stand on the sideline as a coach. She wants a seat at the table. And now, that statement hits differently because Philadelphia is no longer a hypothetical WNBA market. The league has officially approved Philadelphia as an expansion city, with the franchise scheduled to begin play in 2030. Here is where you need to slow down because social media can easily turn this into something it is not. Staley has not been announced as an owner. There is no official announcement saying she has purchased a stake, joined the ownership group, or signed an agreement with the team. The confirmed ownership structure centers on Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, with Comcast and other strategic investors expected to be involved. So when you hear, Dawn Staley is buying a WNBA team, that is not the verified story. The verified story is more interesting. One of the most influential figures in American women's basketball has publicly expressed a desire to own part of Philadelphia's new franchise. Why does that matter? Because Staley is not just another famous basketball name. She is a Philadelphia basketball institution. She grew up in North Philadelphia, became a 5-time WNBA All-Star as a player, won 3 Olympic gold medals, and built South Carolina into one of the dominant programs in college basketball. Her credibility crosses generations. Younger fans know her as a championship coach. Older Philadelphia basketball fans remember the local star who became an international icon. That gives her something money alone cannot buy. A genuine connection to the city and women's basketball. Listen to her reason for wanting ownership. When Kylie Kelsey asked whether Staley would coach a Philadelphia WNBA team, Staley said no. She explained that she would rather be an owner because ownership would allow her to reach more people. That answer reveals how she is thinking. She is not talking about one roster or one season. She is talking about influence, infrastructure, community, and the ability to help shape an organization from the beginning. That is a different ambition. Philadelphia is exactly the kind of market where that ambition could become powerful. The WNBA announced the franchise in June 2025, and the league's board approvals were formally completed in April 2026. The team will play in South Philadelphia and is expected to have a new women's performance center. The name has not yet been announced. The inaugural season is scheduled for 2030. That runway creates something valuable. Time to build the franchise identity before its first player walks onto the court. Now imagine what Staley's involvement could mean if an agreement eventually happens. She could connect the organization with Philadelphia's basketball culture. She could bridge professional basketball, college programs, youth basketball, businesses, and fans who have waited decades for this opportunity. She could help make the franchise feel Philadelphia before it ever plays Philadelphia basketball. Here is the unexpected angle. Staley's biggest value might not be her basketball resume at all. It could be her ability to make people care. She understands that Philly fans are demanding, emotional, knowledgeable, and fiercely loyal. She has said that if a WNBA team is rushed into the city, Philadelphia fans will let everyone know. That warning reveals how seriously she takes the market. No, Dawn Staley has not been handed a WNBA franchise, but her position is unmistakable. She wants ownership. Philadelphia now has a team. The league approved it. The ownership group is still taking shape. And that leaves one enormous question hanging over this story. When Philadelphia finally opens the doors to its new WNBA organization, will Dawn Staley be watching from the outside, or will she be sitting at the table helping build it? Now here is where this story gets much more interesting, because the question is no longer whether Philadelphia wants a WNBA team. That question has already been answered. The league has officially approved Philadelphia as its 18th franchise, and the team is scheduled to begin play in 2030. The bigger question is who gets to help define what this franchise becomes. And that is exactly where Dawn Staley enters the conversation. The ownership group is already led by Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, the organization behind the Philadelphia 76ers, with Comcast and other strategic investors involved. But the door to additional investors and influential Philadelphia figures has never been presented as permanently closed. In fact, Josh Harris has previously indicated that the ownership group could grow and include people who genuinely matter to Philadelphia. And Staley is about as Philadelphia as this story gets. She is not an outsider looking at a business opportunity from across the country. She is a North Philadelphia native who built her basketball identity in the city before becoming one of the most accomplished figures in the sport. That matters because WNBA expansion is not simply about putting another professional team inside an arena. The league is betting that these new franchises can become cultural institutions. Philadelphia has already shown that it wants women's basketball to mean something here. Staley has spent years publicly advocating for the city to receive a WNBA franchise, so when she says she wants ownership, she is speaking from a position of history, credibility, and genuine connection. But there is another detail you should know because this is where the internet can get ahead of reality. Staley recently made it clear that nobody from the WNBA had approached her about a role with Philadelphia. She also made clear that her comments were not some public request for the ownership group to call her. In other words, there is no secret handshake here. There is no confirmed deal hiding behind the headlines. There is no announcement saying Dawn Staley owns a percentage of Philadelphia's franchise. What exists is Staley's very public interest in ownership, and an opportunity that could become extremely significant if the two sides ever decide that their interests align. And think about what that could mean. Imagine a new WNBA organization trying to establish credibility in a city that already has decades of basketball history. Who better understands the emotional temperature of Philadelphia than Staley? She knows what the fans expect. She knows how quickly this city can embrace you when you earn its respect. And she knows how quickly Philadelphia can turn on something that feels artificial. Remember, Staley herself has warned that if a WNBA franchise is forced into the city without the right foundation, Philadelphia fans will have no problem criticizing it. That is not pessimism. That is someone who understands the market. There is also a business argument here that people are overlooking. Staley herself has explained that her value extends beyond coaching. She believes ownership would allow her to influence more people and use her experience in a broader way. That means her potential contribution would not necessarily be limited to basketball decisions. She could become a bridge between the franchise and the community, between professional women's basketball and the enormous youth basketball ecosystem surrounding Philadelphia. She could help shape how the organization talks to fans, develops talent, builds partnerships, and establishes its identity before the first official game is played. And timing could become the most fascinating piece of this entire story. Philadelphia is not scheduled to play until 2030, which gives the organization several years to construct the foundation. The WNBA says the team will play in South Philadelphia, and a new women's performance center is planned for the franchise. The team name has not even been announced yet, and the league says Philadelphia fans and basketball communities will have input into that process. That means the organization is still in the identity-building stage. So ask yourself this. If you are building a brand new WNBA franchise in Philadelphia, do you want one of the most recognizable women's basketball figures in the country standing outside the building? Or do you want her helping you build it? That is the strategic question sitting underneath all of this noise. And there is one more reason this conversation could become explosive. Staley is still the head coach at South Carolina, meaning any future ownership role would have to be considered alongside her existing professional responsibilities and any potential conflicts. That does not mean it cannot happen. It simply means the details matter. The WNBA has already acknowledged that potential conflicts would need to be reviewed if Staley became involved. So the idea is possible, but it is not automatic. The smartest way to read this story is not, Dawn Staley has bought a WNBA team. She has not. The smarter headline is this. Dawn Staley has publicly declared that if she enters Philadelphia's WNBA future, she wants ownership. Philadelphia now has the franchise. The league has approved it. The organization is building toward 2030. And the woman who spent years demanding that Philadelphia get this opportunity has already told everyone exactly where she wants to sit when it finally arrives. Not on the sideline, not watching from the crowd, but at the table where the decisions are made. Now the story has taken another turn, because Dawn Staley did not simply repeat that she wants ownership. She explained what she believes she would actually bring to a Philadelphia WNBA franchise. Speaking this week ahead of her Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame induction, Staley said she does not want to just coach. She wants to own, and then came the line that should make every serious sports business person pay attention. She said she knows her worth. Staley believes her value goes beyond basketball knowledge. She specifically pointed to her business understanding and argued that a franchise could be better because of what she brings to the organization. That is a very different message from someone quietly waiting for a coaching opportunity. And there is something even more revealing here. Staley is not saying, "Give me the coaching job." She is talking about the structure of the franchise before the first game is even played. She has already identified what Philadelphia needs. The right president, the right general manager, and a coach who can connect with the city. She has even pointed toward the Golden State Valkyries as a model worth studying, particularly because of how aggressively that organization has approached building its business. Staley's argument is simple. If Philadelphia wants to succeed, it cannot treat this like a side project. The city has to invest, build properly, and create something fans believe in from day one. But here is the sentence that changes the temperature of the entire story. Staley also made clear that she is not campaigning for herself. She said she is not pressing herself, and that her comments should not be interpreted as a call for Philadelphia's ownership group to contact her. That is important because it removes the easy narrative. She is not publicly demanding a position. She is telling you what her terms would be if the conversation ever happens. And honestly, that makes the story more intriguing. Someone who desperately wants a job usually talks about what they can do for the employer. Staley is talking about what she believes the organization would gain by having her at the ownership table. Now look at the situation Philadelphia has created. The WNBA franchise is already officially approved. It is scheduled to begin play in 2030. Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment will own and operate the team, while Comcast holds a minority stake, with the league also noting that other strategic investors with Philadelphia roots could be included. The franchise still does not have a public team name. Its permanent home is being developed in South Philadelphia, and a new women's performance center is planned. In other words, the basketball team exists on paper, but a huge portion of its identity still has to be built. And that is exactly why Staley's comments are landing so loudly right now. She is not asking to inherit an established machine. She is talking about helping build one. There is a massive difference. If Philadelphia already had a decade-old franchise with a fixed culture, established executives, and a championship history, bringing Staley into ownership would be one kind of decision. But this is a blank canvas. The front office still has to be assembled. The brand still has to be defined. The fan relationship still has to be created. The basketball philosophy still has to be established. And Philadelphia fans are going to judge every single one of those decisions. Staley understands that better than almost anyone. She grew up in North Philadelphia. She played professional basketball in the city with the Philadelphia Rage. She watched professional women's basketball disappear from Philadelphia, and then watched the demand return decades later. When Unrivaled brought professional women's basketball back to Philadelphia in January 2026, more than 21,000 fans packed the building, demonstrating that the city can absolutely support elite women's basketball when the product is presented correctly. Staley was there, and she understood what that crowd represented. So imagine the symbolism if she eventually becomes part of the ownership group. The woman who once played professional basketball in Philadelphia could potentially help build the city's next professional women's basketball organization. The player becomes an executive. The local star becomes an investor. The person who spent years talking about bringing the WNBA home could potentially help decide what home actually looks like. But do not confuse possibility with confirmation. There is still no announcement that Dawn Staley owns a stake in Philadelphia's WNBA franchise. There is no confirmed agreement between Staley and Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment. That distinction matters. What is confirmed is that Staley wants ownership if she becomes involved, and she now has a franchise in her hometown that will begin playing in 2030. And perhaps the most interesting question is not whether Staley gets involved. It is what happens if Philadelphia eventually comes to her. Because Staley has already told us she knows her worth. She knows what she brings. She knows what Philadelphia needs. And she has made one thing very clear. If she is going to return to the city in a major WNBA role, she does not want to simply be another name on the bench. She wants to help make the decisions that shape the future. But there is one thing about Raven Johnson that deserves far more attention than her rookie scoring average, because it tells you exactly what Dawn Staley was trying to build. Johnson did not leave South Carolina simply as a talented guard. She left as a proven winner with a defensive identity, championship experience, and the ability to run an offense. The Indiana Fever selected her 10th overall in the 2026 WNBA draft, and head coach Stephanie White made the reasoning unusually clear. White called Johnson a winner, praised her readiness on the defensive end, and emphasized that she had been playing point guard for Dawn Staley, whom White described among the greatest point guards ever. That statement should make you stop for a second, because it reveals what professional teams are actually buying when they draft a South Carolina guard. They are not simply buying production. They are buying preparation. Johnson finished her South Carolina career with 2 national championships, 4 SEC regular season titles, and 3 SEC tournament championships. She also made the final for every season of her career. Those experiences matter because the WNBA does not give rookies much time to learn how to handle pressure. The pressure is already there. The arenas are bigger, the athletes are faster, and every possession is being evaluated by someone who knows exactly how to expose a weakness. Johnson has already spent years playing in environments where every mistake mattered. And now comes the fascinating connection. Johnson is walking into Indiana alongside Aaliyah Boston, another South Carolina product who played under Staley, and was the first overall pick in the 2023 WNBA draft. She also joins Caitlin Clark, the player she once faced across the court in the unforgettable 2024 National Championship game. In that championship matchup, Johnson played 37 minutes, recorded 4 steals, and helped South Carolina defeat Iowa. Now, instead of trying to stop Clark, she is sharing a professional locker room with her. That is not just a fun basketball coincidence. It is a perfect illustration of how quickly the women's game has changed. A player who once had to defend one of the biggest stars in college basketball is now learning how to complement that same star at the professional level. And Staley prepared Johnson for exactly that kind of transition by teaching her that being a great guard does not mean controlling everything. It means understanding everything. That distinction is critical. If Clark has the ball, Johnson does not need to duplicate what Clark does. She needs to make Clark's life easier. If Boston is attacking inside, Johnson needs to understand spacing. If the Fever need a defensive stop, Johnson needs to accept the assignment. If the offense breaks down, she needs to create a solution without turning the possession into chaos. That is the kind of intelligence that does not always appear in highlight packages, but coaches notice it immediately. The Fever clearly did. Their own coverage of the draft showed that Johnson was selected because of what she could bring to the guard rotation, while general manager Amber Cox also discussed the decision after the selection. And then there is the most revealing piece of evidence: Johnson's 7-assist WNBA performance. The league itself has highlighted that game among her early professional moments. That matters because it shows the passing instincts she developed at South Carolina did not disappear when the competition became professional. In fact, this may be the real secret behind Staley's perimeter development. She is not teaching guards to become one-dimensional stars. She is teaching them to become answers. Need a defender? They can defend. Need a ball handler? They can organize. Need someone to attack in transition? They can run. Need a player who can move without the basketball? They understand the space. Need somebody to make the extra pass instead of forcing a shot? They already know why it matters. That versatility is becoming increasingly valuable in the WNBA because roster construction is changing. Teams have elite primary scorers, but the championship-level difference often comes from the players who can connect those stars. Johnson is learning that role now. Her current averages may look modest, but the larger story is whether Indiana trusts her with more responsibility as the season progresses. The official WNBA statistics list her at 3.9 points, 2.2 rebounds and 1.5 assists per game, but those numbers exist inside a much bigger context. She is a rookie joining a competitive team with established stars and veterans already demanding touches. That is why judging her solely by scoring would be completely misleading. Staley's development model is built around making players useful before making them spectacular. And there is a reason that model has produced so many WNBA players. South Carolina's 2026 program notes state that Staley has had 18 players drafted since 2015, including 12 since 2020 and 6 first-round selections during that period. Even more striking, 6 Gamecocks have earned WNBA All-Rookie Team honors, including 3 Rookie of the Year winners: Alisha Gray, Aya Wilson and Aaliyah Boston. Those numbers change the conversation completely. This is no longer just about one coach helping one guard. There is a measurable pipeline. Staley keeps sending perimeter and frontcourt talent into the WNBA, and the players arrive with an understanding of professional expectations. That does not mean every Gamecock becomes an instant star. It means the foundation is already there. And that is why Raven Johnson could become one of the more interesting rookies to watch as the season develops. The question is not whether she can suddenly become Caitlin Clark. The question is whether she can become the player Indiana drafted her to be. A guard who defends, organizes, passes, competes and understands winning. If that happens, then the real story will not be that Dawn Staley produced another WNBA player. It will be that she produced another player whose value becomes clearer the longer you watch. And in professional basketball, that is often where the most dangerous players begin.